I knew there was going to be changes at MSNBC. I knew there was a possibility that people could get fired. People would be leaving the network. I knew there was going to be budget cuts, but I was expecting the cuts to affect people like the Wicked Weave Joy Reid. As you guys know, MSNBC eliminated their cosmetology budget last year. That's why we have seen an influx of balding beauties at the network. They no longer had the money to supply the requested weaves. I knew there was going to be pay cuts. MSNBC's already presented two options to Joy Reid. I think they secretly hope that she's going to select option 2. Option number 1. You can keep your time slot in prime time, but you'll have to accept a significant decrease in your woke welfare. Option 2, get the hell out of here and leave the climate-friendly broom that we supplied as part of your contract. With the bitterly cold winter that we are having, we're no longer pretending to be concerned about emissions. We're going to be using your broom to sweep the floor. Luckily, there won't be too much hair on the floor in Joy's studio for obvious reasons. I was expecting to see changes at MSNBC, but I was not expecting the change that they announced this morning. Headline at Mediaite: MSNBC President Rashida Jones to step down. Rashida Jones has been the president of MSNBC since 2021. 4 years ago, Mrs. Jones, she was able to accomplish a first. And you guys know how much deacons at Woke United Methodist love a first. Rashida Jones became the first black executive to lead a cable news network. Not the first female black executive. Rashida Jones became the first black executive. This was a dual first, which exempted Rashida Jones from the mandatory ties at Woke United Methodist for a period of 2 years. Now, to her credit, all kidding aside, from what I know about Rashida Jones, she did a pretty good job running MSNBC. Perhaps her greatest accomplishment was having the courage to fire Tiffany Cross. KC, who in the hell is Tiffany Cross? Really? You've already forgotten? You guys don't remember Tiffer the Bongo Sniffer? Tiffany Cross was the lead professor in mythical racism on weekends at MSNBC. She was fired over controversial comments that she made about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Tiffany Cross was fired in 2022 during one of the final years of profit and prosperity in the business of mythical racism. Rashida Jones having the courage to fire someone who belonged to multiple marginalized groups, that was a big deal at the time. Unfortunately, though, for Rashida Jones, as the business of mythical racism began to decline, so did the ratings at MSNBC. Publicly, they are presenting this like it was her decision, but if I had to guess, I would imagine that she was given some extra motivation to resign. Motivation like, you can announce that you are leaving, or we are going to announce that you're fired. The choice, of course, is yours. A couple of years ago, Rashida Jones was criticized for donating a massive amount of woke welfare to Rachel Maddow. MSNBC donated $30 million a year to Rach, and in return, she agreed to work one night a week. It was a questionable decision then, and it's damn sure a questionable decision now. But that was not the only strange decision made by Rashida Jones. On her way out of the network, Rashida Jones, she made one last questionable decision. In the midst of a ratings crisis, Rashida Jones begged someone to return to the network full-time who was partially responsible for tanking the ratings. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Link to the second channel in the description below. This morning on the second channel, talked about the atrocity that the NFL presented this weekend. Just like the regular season, the playoffs were a disappointment. So if you haven't already, head over to the second channel and subscribe. Headline at the Daily Beast: Rachel Maddow returns to 5 days per week after ratings crisis. Now, just to be clear, Rachel Maddow is not receiving an increase in pay for her increased workload. Matter of fact, Rach will be working an additional 4 days every week for $5 million less every year. Now, on one hand, I can understand why MSNBC would beg Rachel Maddow to return. I mean, have you seen their primetime lineup? The Wicked Weave, the super nerd Chris Hayes, some doofus named Alex Wagner. I think they still have that aging fossil on at 9 or 10 o'clock. Larry McDonald, Norm O'Connell. Who cares? It doesn't matter what his name is. Like the rest of this polished turd in prime time, no one is watching him. Rachel Maddow is easily the biggest draw at the network. Since Rach began her sabbatical a few years ago, Alex Wagner has lost 50% of her audience. November of 2023, Rachel Maddow averaging 2.4 million viewers on Monday nights. This was against stiff competition from the NFL and even stiffer competition from the oiled up dudes in Speedos who passionately roll around inside of a roped square on the USA Network that for some reason is called a squared circle. Tuesday through Friday, Alex Wagner had that number down to a cool 1.2 million. Some nights, she was struggling to eclipse 1 million viewers. So it's understandable why MSNBC would beg Rachel Maddow to return, especially considering the fact that she is the highest paid talent at the network and she works the least. Right now, they are saying that Rachel Maddow is only returning for the first 100 days of Trump's administration. They are treating that like it's some monumental event. Ooh, this is a big deal. We need to call in our heavy hitters to cover this event. Preston, give me Tom Brokaw. Call up Matt Lauer, Katie Couric. With an event of this magnitude, we need our biggest stars ready to work. Sir? Ma'am? Maybe them? None of those stars are on the payroll. The only star we have is Rachel Maddow, and she refuses to show up to work. Me personally, I think this is a trial run for MSNBC. If Rachel Maddow returns and the ratings magically increase, I think they will demand to keep the schedule permanent. Maybe they'll cut it down to 4 nights a week and give Rach a 3-day weekend. If this ends up being a huge embarrassing failure, then they know the drawing power of Rachel Maddow has been diminished. At that point, MSNBC will know it's time to find a new star. This is a desperate move to stop a massive decline in the ratings. Since the election, MSNBC's ratings have declined by 55%. Who would have thought that a primetime lineup featuring Joy Reid, Alex Wagner, and Larry O'Connell wouldn't draw flies to a fresh turd? On Monday nights, MSNBC gives their audience the delightful experience of Little Red Riding Hood, Jen Psaki. Last week, she drew 733,000 viewers. Now, compared to the number she drew the day before, that 733,000 looks great! Because 24 hours earlier, Little Red drew 193,000 viewers. MSNBC is looking for someone, anyone, to freshen up this turd. Since Rachel Maddow is the biggest star at the network, it's understandable why MSNBC thinks that she can be their hero. I can be your hero, baby. Problem is, Rachel Maddow is partially responsible for the decline of MSNBC. Since the election, Rachel Maddow has lost 43% of her audience. After the holidays, MSNBC experienced a brief resurgence. Their ratings went from nothing to almost nothing. It wasn't a cause for a spontaneous butt bongo celebration, but the network, they could definitely see the rainbow beginning to form. Ratings were slowly increasing for everyone except Rachel Maddow. Last Monday night, her ratings down 26%. Rachel Maddow has lost over 1 million viewers in the span of 2 months. Here's what I don't understand about this. There is clearly a reason for MSNBC's ratings decline. Some of it can be attributed to the election, but That was over 2 months ago. I could buy that excuse in November. You can blame the holidays in December. If the decline was 10%, 20%, maybe even 30%, that would make sense. But we're talking about a network that lost half of its audience in prime time. That cannot be attributed to viewer fatigue. That can't be attributed to an audience of sore losers who are angry because cackling Cam Harris failed in embarrassing fashion. There is a clear disconnect between what MSNBC is presenting and what their audience of unemployed wanker spankers wants to see. So, how are you going to bridge that disconnect by offering them the same thing? How are you going to bridge that disconnect by giving them more of what they're already not watching? If Rachel Maddow is not performing one night a week, how is she going to draw 5 nights a week? This is why I keep saying mainstream media, biggest loser in that election. These ratings declines at CNN, MSNBC, this is not a coincidence. Fox News, ratings are up. Numbers are increasing for YouTubers. Everyone seems to be thriving except the mainstream media. Why? I think the reason that people quit watching CNN, MSNBC, they finally figured out they were being lied to. They finally figured out that both networks are serving them a shit sandwich. MSNBC has lost the trust of their audience, and once trust is lost, it is incredibly difficult to get it back. Damn near impossible when you're trying to rebuild trust with the same people responsible for the lies. Rachel Maddow was the face of the illusion of Russian collusion. I was surprised that she was able to bounce back from that. But for the past 4 years, MSNBC has lied to their audience by telling them that Johnny B. Biden is the smartest guy in the room. They conveniently overlooked the fact that Johnny B. was the only guy in the room. And even with that being the case, you could make a case that the potted ficus had more awareness than Johnny B. We'll see if this works. We will see if Rachel Maddow can save the network. I don't think the announcement of 100 days, I don't think that's an accident. I think this is a trial run. I think MSNBC is seeing if Rachel Maddow is still a draw. And if she's not, they've got an easy out. What about you? Did MSNBC give themselves an easy out? Do you think Rachel Maddow still has mainstream drawing power? Can she restore credibility and ratings at MSNBC? You tell me. Sound off in the comments below. Best way to contact me is through email, btlkc84@gmail.com. I'll see you guys later.